Kentucky Derby.
The turn, the leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for free.
Epicenter is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear.
Yeah, the Twins they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command.
Blood and Heart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's low of 1976.
The first 17 points were earned more than 7 months ago, and now the road has ended right where it started at historic Churchill Downs, where Kentucky Derby 148 is just 12 days away. Hit the brew button on your coffee machine, fire up the treadmill, take some notes. It's day one of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twins Spires. Main track is fast. The temperature's right around 70 degrees, a very pleasant morning in Louisville, Kentucky. Let's take a look at the headlines. Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, North America's all-time winningest trainer, sends out points leader and likely Kentucky Derby favorite Epicenter. Steve will join us in just a few moments. Brad Cox, who finished first and third in last year's Derby, and two-time Derby winning trainer Todd Pletcher each have 3 horses pointing towards Kentucky Derby 148. There were lots of huge efforts in the final preps, before perhaps none more impressive than Zandon's Bluegrass score. And speaking of Zandon, he arrived here at Churchill Downs from Keeneland just yesterday. And Zandon, second in the Remsen as a 2-year-old, third in the Risen Star after a tough break and a wide turn for home behind Epicenter. And the winner last time out in the Bluegrass with a scintillating turn of foot. The cream has really risen to the top here at Churchill Downs as they've arrived here under the Twin Spires following their final preps. And as I'm joined by Scott Shapiro. Scott, we've done all the homework. I like to joke that the Kentucky Derby is the only race that takes 7 months to handicap. Lots of buzz. In the next 10 days or so, we're going to hear some rumors. We're going to overanalyze everything, and that's all going to be over in 2 minutes.
Yeah, great to be back, Joe. Super excited for the next couple of weeks, and there's nothing quite like the Kentucky Derby. You mentioned so much build-up, then it's over in 2 minutes. But I think we've got a strong contingent. You mentioned the final preps, really bumping some horses up. We won't have a prohibitive favorite like we did in the last couple of years. 'Tis the law and essential quality, but I'm sure Epicenter will be about 3-1 or 7-2 when all said and done.
We've handicapped the races. We've looked at the replays. We've tried to figure out which preps were stronger than which. But which horses are going to pass the eye test in the next 10 days? The man to help us sort all of that out is Brandon Staubel with a great view up near the box seats on the 4th floor. And Brandon, good morning. A beautiful day to be here at Churchill Downs.
Joe, Scott, good morning. Yes, I've got one of the best views here at Churchill Downs, 4th floor, Millionaires Row, right in front of the finish line. And looking forward to seeing some new fresh faces. You mentioned Zandon, and also looking to see back on track some of the horses that breezed over the weekend and several days ago last week, and see how they've come out of their works. Remember, guys, the most important thing, the workouts are very important. We like watching those. We like watching the horses go fast, but it's how did they come out of the workouts? That's what we really want to pay attention to, because usually when a horse is galloping well into the race, they're going to run well.
Let's take a look at the Kentucky Derby points leaderboard. Again, it all began here at Churchill Downs in September. Epicenter with 3 stakes wins on his resume. Scott, your points leader, but boy, the final preps were sensational. A lot of winners of those races here on the first page.
Yeah, Epicenter, 164 points, rattling off 3 wins in 4 starts at Fairgrounds against Stakes Company, the lone defeat. A tough one in the Lecomte to Call Me Midnight. Zandon, we just saw him, an impressive win in the Bluegrass. He's probably going to be the second choice. And then we move to the second page, Joe.
Take a look at the second page here. We've got Un Ojo, the one-eyed wonder, one of many great storylines in the Kentucky Derby this year. A trio for Todd Pletcher, a trio for Brad Cox, as we mentioned. But we also talked about the fact that Epicenter is the likely favorite for Kentucky Derby 148, and we do have his trainer standing by as we take a look at the also eligibles horses on the outside currently looking in. hoping for a defection to move their way into the Kentucky Derby 20-horse starting gate. And mentioning, we've got the leading trainer of the history of the sport, Scott, leading trainer at Churchill Downs, Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen. There's one race, an important race that he hasn't captured as of yet. Maybe this is the year.
Yeah, he's definitely had some chances in the Kentucky Derby, but not the one he has with Epicenter. I think it's a little bit of a false narrative that he hasn't been able to win the event with a horse like this. We'll look forward to talking to him right now.
I had the pleasure of watching Epicenter all winter long in New Orleans, and speaking to the gentleman that we're going to speak to now on a regular basis about this horse and his progression, Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen joins us now from the backstretch. Steve, good morning. We thank you so much for joining us. And let's just talk about this horse's progression. You know, he ran here a couple of times as a 2-year-old. Could you have written a better script in New Orleans? And how are things going leading up to the big race just 1 week from Saturday?
Well, we're very fortunate to be involved with Epicenter, another top-class horse for Winchell Thoroughbreds. Mentioned, how well he did over the winter at the fairgrounds. He's a horse that has continued to physically develop and consistently has gotten faster as the races have went a little further. So we're extremely pleased with how he's coming into this year's Derby.
Steve, you've had a lot of incredible horses over your career. Was Epicenter a horse you knew was a star from the first time you saw him, or was there kind of a point maybe where he took a step forward, maybe after his debut or a specific time after that first start?
He's a very extremely attractive horses, has everything going for him that you would want coming in. Nice talent, but he has continuously improved to get to this point. I think that Echo Zulu was obvious sooner than he was.
Steve, Brandon Staubel here. Got a question about Epicenter's mind. He seems like he has a great mind on him, and you know better than anybody, you got to have a great mind to be able to go those longer distances. I thought it was interesting in the Louisiana Derby, the tactics to kind of not take back, but just kind of let the horse relax a little bit. Was that by design?
Well, I think that it was by confidence. I think that the Risen Star was a very deep field, and everything went favorably for him from an advantage point, from a tactical standpoint. And then the Louisiana Derby simply wasn't as fast of a race on paper, and it allowed Joel the confidence to do what we felt that needed to be done to have success in the Derby. Several of the preps at that point had been won gate to wire. I think that, assessing this year's 3-year-old crop, there was plenty of pace in it, so it was great to see Epicenter settle. He was very handy. He was definitely in the race, but not necessarily having to have the lead and still have success.
Steve, we're watching the work from this past weekend for Epicenter. What did you think of the work, and what is the plan with his final preparation?
Well, that work yesterday morning, it's more of the same from him. He's a very impressive horse. He goes over this racetrack really well. He does have the one victory over it here last year, so obviously a lot of confidence about that, taking one of the variables out of it as far as how he handles the surface. But last 12 days here will be very exciting going into the Derby. Came out of yesterday's work in great shape, and most likely, depending upon the weather, probably have a lighter 5/8 next Sunday.
Steve, you mentioned Echo Zulu, the undefeated Philly champion. Weren't sure if we were going to see her at Fairgrounds in the Fairgrounds Oaks. It was a treat that we got to see her, and she won that race, and she really, for the first time in her career, had to fight. Is she going to be better off for that moving forward into the Oaks?
Well, with Echo Zulu, I think that what a brilliant 2-year-old filly campaign she had. 3 Grade 1 wins, the Breeders' Cup, gave her a very necessary break. She got a nice break here at Becky Makers. Came back into the fairgrounds, had added some weight, actually added a little muscle, and then I think we, from a timing standpoint, making the Fairgrounds Oaks was very tight, but she came out of it in good shape and has trained well here. The 1 1/8 of the Oaks, off of how fast she is going to, we're yet to be determined, so to speak.
All right, Steve, thank you so much for your time. In addition to having Echo Zulu and the Oaks and Epicenter and the Kentucky Derby, you've got sales going on. You've got new 2-year-olds coming to the barn. Lots to keep your attention as you cross the days off the calendar.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Steve. Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, Epicenter, Echo Zulu, and we're going to take a look at more about Epicenter, Scott. But, you know, Steve, he knows. He said it after the Louisiana Derby. He really wants to win the Kentucky Derby, and it's kind of been circumstantial for him. He's had so many good horses that have gotten even better as they've gotten older. This one might be good at the right time. Late January foal, and I think that helped.
Yeah, I referenced the fact of the narrative that Steve has been unable to win the Kentucky Derby. He's had a lot of chances. He's 0 for 23 in the Derby, but he hasn't had a favorite. He's had a couple of second choices. One of them was Curlin, who ran third, but just had 3 starts. He ran second with Nero. He had Looking at Lee outrun his odds. This is his best chance. I'm not worried about Steve being able to win the Kentucky Derby.
Just want to get the horses in the starting gate for the first Friday in May and the first Saturday in May, and Echo Zulu and Epicenter. And, you know, Brandon, we're taking a look at the Epicenter again from yesterday, and you kind of heard Steve's plan. And you know Steve Asmussen and his program as well as anybody and how he likes to do things. And he referenced another slow 5-furlong move coming up next weekend, just trying to continue to build that stamina, I would guess.
Yeah, I love what he said because typically he'll do just an easy half mile. We've seen it before, half mile and 50, not really letting the horse do too much. So I think that exudes a lot of confidence. The fact he says he's going to work the horse 5/8 again. It's going to be easy, but he's such a talented runner that he's probably going to record a pretty good time, 5 furlongs a minute or so. Really interested to see how he does in that work, but at the same time, just like I said, exudes confidence that he's going to go out there and give him another 5/8, continuing to build that stamina. Epicenter here on the outside working with Gunnett. You can see kind of a loose rein here near the wire for Epicenter, but they did go from the 3/4 pole, so stamina building working here. They galloped out a mile in around 140 or so, and just an easy work. We talked about the mind here, just the ability of Epicenter just to kind of turn off and relax. You can see the rider there with a loose rein to the wire, kind of sticks ahead in front of Gunnett. Wants him to finish up a little bit around the turn, and just a really nice work from Epicenter.
From Steve Asmussen to trainer Brad Cox, who started his first 2 horses in the Kentucky Derby last year, and he wound up finishing first and third with Mandaloon and the favorite Essential Quality. He brings 3 live weapons to the battle this year, including Cyberknife, Scott, by that top sire Gun Runner, and man, this horse has come to hand quickly over the course of the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, this colt was always highly regarded by the Cox barn, but it's taken him a while to figure out the mental side of things. Physical talent's always been there, and he took a big step forward. 2 starts back on the Risen Star undercard, getting the job done against a pretty good group that day, and then really took the step forward, getting him into this race with that win in the Arkansas Derby under a very heady ride by Florent Giroux.
Speaking of that physical talent, let's take a look at the workout from yesterday, and we send it up to Brandon. Brandon, this work looks very, very good. I think it's a little bit deceiving. Cool House, the horse that he works with, is a nice horse, but maybe not in the greatest of form. Cyberknife handled him very, very easily, and again, visually impressive, not only through the finish line, but around that second turn.
Yeah, I thought this was a serious work. Really impressed with what I saw from Cyberknife. Very good workhorse, but the ability to relax. One thing with this horse we want to keep an eye on leading up to the Derby is the mental side. He's got a history of doing some things that would make you a little bit nervous. Florent Giroux on the outside, and here started 2 back of Cool House, and just love the way this horse relaxed early on. They didn't go that fast. I had him around 37 and change. They'll hit the 1/4 pole right here. You can see Flo on the outside, still with a lot of horse, just sitting there, good lead change. Just relaxed, very relaxed. Watch the hands, just keeping him nice and relaxed, not asking him to do anything yet. And then he'll give him the cue here in just a second. He'll go on to win the drill by a couple of lengths. But guys, as you kind of alluded to, Joe, that this gallop out was big. I had the gallop out 7 furlongs in 1:24 and 2, and that's a serious move around here. I haven't seen anything as far as the horses that have worked here at the track. I haven't seen anything like that from anybody yet. So I was really impressed with Cyberknife, particularly from the gallop out.
Cyberknife, a $400,000 Facing Tipton Select yearling purchase, and from one Brad Cox trainee to another. And the Scott, similar storyline, but maybe a little bit different way to get there. Cyberknife was very green early in his career, has slowly come to hand for Brad Cox. Zozos has burst onto the scene.
Yeah, got started later in his career. A lot of, was a well-meant horse from the get-go, workman-like win going one turn at Fairgrounds, then took a massive step forward in that second start. His first try against Winners, first try against 2 turns, relaxing just off the pace, and showed that the distance won't be much of an issue to me in the mile and a 3/16 Louisiana Derby, where he was beaten handily by Epicenter, but he finished well and showed the ability to go to the lead instead of sitting off the pace.
Yeah, Zozos with tactical speed as well, but a great mind. Brandon references that. This horse certainly has it, Brandon, as we pick up the workout here as they near the finish line.
Yeah, no doubt Zozos is a very talented colt, and here you can see Flo again on Zozos, just kind of keeping him relaxed to the wire. That's Folsom on the inside, a very good horse in his own right, and it's kind of a carbon copy type work, maybe not as huge on the gallop out, but very relaxed to the wire. They finished strong, galloped out well. This is a really nice horse, as I mentioned. He's working well. He's going to, I think, run his best race, and whether or not that's good enough, yet to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, he's improved exponentially. I mean, solid step forward in every race. You mentioned Folsom. Looks like he's probably going to run in the Ali Sheba on Kentucky Oaks Day, so a really nice older horse for trainer Brad Cox. As we move from Brad to Chad. Zandon, by Upstart, who's been a little bit of an upstart as a stallion. This is a horse that ran really well in the Remsen to finish second behind Modonigal in a great battle down to the wire. He was third in the Louisiana Derby. Didn't have the greatest of trips. Man, did he put it all together in the Bluegrass, Scott.
Yeah, this is a horse that showed nice talent from the get-go, winning a sprint race when he probably is a horse that wanted to go longer. The Remsen, not normally a live race in terms of a key race for the Kentucky Derby, but I think it was this year. He showed a lot, being able to get that distance with just one start under his belt. He's done very little wrong other than not getting out of the gates well. That's going to be the key for jockey Flavian Pratt.
Upstart, a $15,000 stallion, also has the undefeated Kathleen O in the Kentucky Oaks. And Brandon, a lot of buzz about this workout at Keeneland.
Yeah, I thought it was gorgeous. He's a gorgeous looking horse. I thought he was relaxed the whole time. You could see the ears kind of flopping back and forth. Seems like a very intelligent runner. Typical Chad Brown type work, and here the rider has a long rein. You can see that the horse is wanting to do something, but he's not fighting the rider. He's not throwing the head up. He's just moving and grooving to the wire. They hit the quarter pole right there, and he'll switch leads on cue right there, and then still the ears are just flopping back and forth. Rider's still got a long hold, and just typical of this barn and several that we'll see. They're going to do their best work out past the wire. Even though he's under a big hold in here, he still finished strong on the clock. I think at the last quarter around 23 and change as well. You can see has a tight hold in here. You can see how beautiful it is, lengthening the stride there, hitting well behind. And then, I think it might have been a little surprised kind of reading some of the notes, the fact that this horse galloped out so well. Chad might have been a little bit surprised, but obviously he knows how talented this runner is. But just doing it all on his own in here. You can see that right ear kind of flicking back and forth, kind of wanting to know from the rider, do you want me to keep going? But I just love the way he's into the bit, but he's not pulling, guys.
48-3 for Zandon, looking very, very good doing it. And you'll see a lot of these workouts from this past weekend. 5 furlongs for all of these horses, but he just ran into the Bluegrass. He's going to kick back with that half-mile work, do a little bit less, but progress towards the Derby nonetheless.
Yeah, he's a horse that I think if he gets the right trip has as good a chance as anyone. There's some people from that Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool 1 that are sitting on 56-1 wagers that are happy to see that he'll probably be the second choice come next Saturday.
We've got people watching us from all over the country, all over the world. Saratoga Springs, San Diego, California, right here in Louisville, Spain, France, Barcelona, everywhere. And if you've got a question for one of our experts, hit us up using the hashtag KYDerby, any of the social media outlets that you might be watching us on. We've got a lot more to come over the course of the next 41 minutes or so, including the live training session from 7:30 to 7:45. Lots of horses worked out this weekend, including Messier, White Barrio, Smile Happy, Tiz the Bomb. Back with them and a lot more right after this.
Kentucky Derby. Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
The Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twins Spires. You see that beautiful, brand new, bright green turf course here at Churchill Downs, and the main track is rated as fast. Saturday, opening night under the Twin Spires, and at that point we'll be just 1 week away from Kentucky Derby 148. Looking very, very, very forward to it. Lots of horses on the grounds here at Churchill Downs. We're going to take a look back at some of the horses that worked this past weekend in other jurisdictions, Scott. But that 7:30 to 7:45 training session, Pioneer of Medina scheduled to work. Looking very forward to that for trainer Todd Pletcher. We'll see a lot of the other horses come out here, jog and gallop. Just looking very forward to seeing that horse flesh.
Yeah, it's so fun when we get out here, and they've been going at it a couple days with the saddle, with the specific saddle cloths, but it really shows us it's that time of the year. And you mentioned Pioneer Medina, who got into the Derby with the defection of Morello, will be working this morning, and we'll see a lot of other horses on the racetrack.
He's a six-time Stanley Cup winner. He's going to take his shots, but can he win the Kentucky Derby? We're talking about Messier from Southern California, Tim Yakteen, the trainer, a winner of the Robert B. Lewis and Bob Hope, most recently second, Scott, in the Santa Anita Derby. He's got speed from the gate, and he's run some huge races.
Yeah, never been worse than second, as you see in 6 tries. Comes off that runner-up effort in the Santa Anita Derby when Johnny Velasquez opted to sit just off the pace of Forbidden Kingdom, a very fast horse for trainer Richard Mandella. I'm expecting a little bit more of an aggressive ride this time around with no Forbidden Kingdom. We've seen Johnny V be aggressive with success in the Kentucky Derby before. I'm expecting again come next Saturday.
By Empire Maker, costs $470,000 as a Face Tipton Select yearling. As we toss it back to Brandon Staubel, 59-4 for this workout at Santa Anita this past weekend, Brandon.
Yeah, this was a solo work in here, and if you go back and watch several of his workouts, he always works well. So talk about this before in the past. Horses that work well, I want to continue to see them work well up to the race. If they're not working well, and they're usually good workhorses, then that's usually a negative sign. So just a beautiful horse. He's a very powerful horse. When he finally turns for home here in just a little bit, you'll see the hind end, how much power he has behind, but kind of similar to what we saw from Zandon. Just really uses his body well, kind of sticks his neck out there and drops that head down. He changes leads on cue. He does have a little bit of higher action up front, but he really strides out through it. He's got so much power from behind. He's just a really nice moving horse, easygoing horse, but at the same time, pretty large animal. And the fact he can be kind of so nimble on his feet, very athletic. You can see him striding out through the wire, ears kind of flicking around a little bit. This is what I like to see from Messier, because as I mentioned, the fact that he's not he is a flashy workhorse, so if he's not working well, that's what we want to pay attention to.
From Messier to White Abario for trainer Safi Joseph, and this one by Race Day. Again, an upstart stallion, stands for $10,000, has a couple of representations Kentucky Derby weekend, and man, this horse, Scott, has just been the model of consistency.
Yeah, kind of gone under the radar a little bit. The Florida Derby happened before a couple of the other major preps, and hard to knock this son of Race Day. As you mentioned, Safi Joseph Jr., the trainer, only one Derby starter thus far with New York Traffic in 2020. Tyler Gaffalione, knows how to win races here at Churchill Downs. He's had 4 starters in the Derby, has never hit the board, but he did have War of Will win the Preakness after the troubled voyage here.
To show you a good horse can come from anywhere, this was a $7,500 short yearling purchase, and debuted at Gulfstream Park September 24th with a big victory, and then was purchased privately by his current connections. The last 2-year-old sale purchase to win the Derby, 2016 winner on Nyquist. I've sent it to Brandon for the workout here, and a lot of people raving about this one, Brandon.
Yeah, another horse that has a reputation for being a strong workhorse. Once again, you can see 34-3 there on the screen. Good lead change. Did it all on his own, and another one that in his final work, if he doesn't throw up a fast time or, anything like that, then I would just assume that maybe something's going on, because this is a very fast workhorse. Even though it was a 3 furlong workout on paper, definitely a strong double gallop out Good splits throughout, and he's very handy on his feet. That's one thing I noticed about him, kind of nimble. It'd be interesting to see when he gets here. I want to see how big he actually is.
$400,000 was the flip price for Dwight Barrio as a 2-year-old in training. Basic tipped in March. Kenny McPeak with a couple of live shots and 2 different kinds of horses here. Tis the Bomb is the one we'll take a look at first. And Scott, look at that resume. He's won the Jeff Ruby, the Battaglia Memorial, the Bourbon, and the Kentucky Downs Juvenile. None of those races on dirt.
Yeah, the talent is obvious for this 3-year-old colt running second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year at Del Mar. The big question is the dirt, like you said. The Holy Bull didn't like kickback, but the Gulfstream Park kickback significantly different than the kickback here. I still have major questions how he'll handle the dirt, though.
Smile Happy, one of 3 horses with a victory on his resume at Churchill Downs going into this Kentucky Derby, and that was an important one, the Kentucky Jockey Club, Scott, which has turned out to be a very key race.
Yeah, absolutely impressive effort in his second lifetime start after an eye-popping win going 2 turns at Keeneland to start his career. The question is, has he moved forward enough as a 3-year-old? He's run second in both of his first 2 starts as a 3-year-old in the Risen Star and the Bluegrass, but he's going to have to turn the tables on both Zandon and Epicenter, who beat him in those races.
And we get 2 for the price of 1 with this workout. Brandon, Smile Happy, and Tis the Bomb, both wearing those yellow Kentucky Derby saddle towels this past weekend, and kind of going hoof to hoof in this workout for Kenny McPeak.
Yeah, I thought these 2 are they're good sparring partners. Corey Lannery on the inside with Smile Happy, Brian Hernandez on the outside with Tis the Bomb. Started about maybe a half length back in there, just kind of off the hip. Both horses very relaxed early on, but as I mentioned, 2 good sparring partners. They're going to be pretty even throughout in this workout. Smile Happy is one that I want to keep an eye on too, because just being out here in the mornings, watching his gallops, watching this work, he's been a little wet in the coat, been a little lathered up around the neck, so something I want to pay attention to. He was lathered up a little bit in this work, but you can see Lannery kind of known for cutting the corner there. He's going to stay close to the rail, and keep an eye on Lannery too. Once they hit the wire, he's going to kind of do the same thing. Brian sticks ahead in front in here with Tis the Bomb. I thought just slightly to the wire, Tis the Bomb was just a little better. I think Tis the Bomb gets over the dirt course fine. I wouldn't say he relishes it. He's got a little bit of that higher knee action that you kind of see in turf horses. You can see the wet in the coat there at the wire. They're going to kind of be heads up. I thought Tis the Bomb maybe just slightly better. Lannery right here kind of scraped the paint a little bit. You could hear it from the stands. And actually on the gallop out, I thought Smile Happy looked a little better on the gallop out. So as I mentioned, guys, thought these 2 were kind of equal, good sparring partners.
Thanks, Brandon. Smile Happy, the model of consistency, I would say. Tis the Bomb has been spectacular at times with the big dirt question for him. Again, if you like those horses, you're probably going to get the right price.
Yeah, I would expect Smile Happy to be in that 12, 15 to 1 range, maybe slightly lower. Tis the Bomb higher because of those dirt questions. But Kenny McPeak has had 6 Derby starters, ran second with Tejano Run last century.
All right, lots to come here on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show. We're going to take a look at the Oaks points leaders next. And a very exciting group here, Scott. Kathleen O, Echo Zulu, both undefeated. Ness was spectacular in the Ashland last time out. As we look at the first page here, Turner loose for Brad Cox. She won the Rachel Alexandra.
Yeah, 2 undefeated fillies up at the top with Kathleen O, a little bit of a later developer than Echo Zulu, who was dominant at 2. You mentioned Ness with that big step forward at Keeneland last time out. Those 3 likely to take a lot of the money, and maybe 1 horse here on that second page.
Secret Oath, minute 13 breeze this morning for the coach Dwayne Lucas. She ran in the Arkansas Derby against the boys and finished 3rd. As we take a look at the second page, Shahama getting a lot of buzz coming over from UAE for Todd Pletcher. Hidden Connection barely lost to Echo Zulu last out.
Yeah, very tough beat for Hidden Connection and trainer Brett Calhoun. Almost got there in the end. There you see the second page, though. A lot of horses that will be up against it to win the race.
7:30 to 7:45, the designated workout times for the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks horses. You'll see the Derby horses in yellow. You'll see the Oaks horses in pink. There you see Charge at 1 of 3 for trainer Todd Pletcher as we get closer to Kentucky Derby 148. Live training session. You've been waiting for it. It's coming up next on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show.
Longines.
Horses around the racetrack for the designated training time for the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. You're going to see a lot of different horses here because more so than most years, many of them are on the grounds. We've got some California horses that aren't here, some Florida horses that aren't here. But Florida horses that are here, the Todd squad, including Pioneer Medina, and he just recently got into the field with a defection scot of Morello. He's improved with every start. He was 4th in the Risen Star, 3rd in the Louisiana Derby, earning enough points. And the thing about Pioneer Medina is he's got natural speed from the gate, and he seems to be getting a little bit better and better. Whether or not he can win the Derby remains to be seen, but you have to respect the connection.
Yeah, I think he might have surprised Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher a little bit. He had him at Monmouth over the summer, didn't even go off as a favorite there, then raced over the all-weather at Gulfstream Park on Halloween, but took a big step forward in the Maiden Breaker at Tampa and has done a good job to rattle off some solid efforts in the Grade 2 events down at the fairgrounds, Joe.
No doubt losing the Epicenter, Zozos, Smile Happy, Zandon, certainly keeping good company. Let's take a look at Un Ojo. Well, lots of stories about how horses get their name, Brandon, but this one is obvious. He has one eye. We've seen horses like this in the past. A Patch immediately comes to mind, but Un Ojo, huge upset in the Rebel 2 starts back. Very tough trip last time out in the Arkansas Derby. One of the great storylines, Brandon, in this year's Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, the Derby is always made for these types of horses. The great storyline, and you mentioned his upset win in the Rebel. Maybe a little bit of a troubled trip in there. Would have liked to seen a little more run in the Arkansas Derby, but he had a decent breeze over the track, 59 and change, so seems like he'll handle the track just fine.
75-1 upset winner of the Rebel for Louisiana-based trainer Ricky Corville. Let's send it back to Brandon. We've got a worker here. It's going to be Pioneer Medina. You can see him on the inside. We'll see if we can find out who the workmate is, Brandon, here, but obviously a very important workout for this Todd Pletcher trainee to find out what his status is for the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, they're going to go 5/8 there. You'll see the pole, the green and white pole right there. So 5 furlong work on the inside. So we'll just kind of see what Todd says after the race as far as placement goes. Now, we've seen in the past, guys, Todd will use these works as kind of a gauge of whether or not the horse will even run in the race. So maybe that's kind of what he's doing here. He's going to get a stiff work into this horse and see how he's coming into the race, because he's not one of those guys that's just going to throw a horse into the Derby if he doesn't feel like they belong. 24-1 on my watch for the opening quarter. So they're just kind of plugging along, 12-12, and they'll hit the quarter pole here in just a second. Looks like the mate is already under pressure. Pioneer Medina on the inside, 36-1 on my watch, and still has a hold on the inside. The mate's still under push and under shove. So let's see what kind of finish we get in here. Still even. Now, Todd's another guy, too. He'll keep his horses pretty much together to the wire. The gallop out will be kind of where they separate themselves a little bit. The mate's hanging in, but you can see the rider on the inside. He's not really moving the hands too much. Stick a head in front in the wire in here. I got 59-3, so pretty nice little finish there. Last quarter in 23 and change. And let's see what they do on the gallop out here. This will be something that we want to see what we're getting here. We've got 112-1, so pretty solid time. And then really on that double gallop out, does he get a little bit of separation from his mate? Obviously, we don't know who the mate is, but I'd like to see that he's got that head in front in there. So I would say Todd's pretty happy with this work. 125-2, so really solid 7 furlong gallop out. He's still pushing out. He wants him to go probably out a mile in here. And I thought it was, guys, very solid work. If Todd was kind of leaning on the fence whether or not to run, I think off of this work, he's probably got to put him in there. 140 flat for the mile, so solid work.
Get those official times for this move by Pioneer Medina when they become available, Scott. And this is another horse that you would expect to be forwardly placed in the Kentucky Derby. He's already run a mile and 3/16 somewhat successfully. I think it's a horse that I could see hanging around for a piece of it, maybe in the Superfecta at a big number. But what you see is what you get, I think, with him.
Yeah, to me, the distance is not an issue. As Dam finished second to Actress in the 2017 Black Eyed Susan. When you watch him run, you don't get any concerns about the distance limitations. It's the class and whether he's fast enough. His underneath finishes have been somewhat circumstantial.
Todd Pletcher with Mo Donegal, who breezed outside of Mike Prankster this past weekend. Mike Prankster, a Pat Day Mile contender, and Mo Donegal was absolutely sensational in the Wood Memorial. Scott, another horse that likes to come, like Zandon, from off the pace, and he's going to have to negotiate most likely some traffic in a 20-horse field. But again, coming into this race the right way.
Yeah, another horse that very little concerns in terms of being able to get the distance, at least compared to his rivals. But the question is how far out of it. Zandon has been out of it, but that's been maybe a little bit because of poor breaks. Mo Donegal just does not flash much early speed at all, Joe.
No trainer has started more horses, Brandon, in the Kentucky Derby than Todd Pletcher. And I really like the fact that he gets his horses here early. He does it, every Derby, gets them here, gets them acclimated, gets them to work on the track, really gets them into a situation where he puts them in a position to succeed. Whether or not they're good enough, that remains to be seen, but he certainly doesn't leave any stones unturned.
Yeah, and a lot is made about, okay, we're going to get here early and let's get a work over the track or gallop over the track. What about just getting situated in the barn and being able to be here for a couple of weeks, and almost feels like the horse can run out of its own stall? I mean, I think that's part of the equation too. Obviously the work on track is important, but getting the horse comfortable back at the barn, that's equally important.
Todd Pletcher has started 59 horses in the Kentucky Derby. He also has nest in this year's Kentucky Oaks. He's won that race 4 times previously, including last year with a Malathat. Zozos is the horse we're going to take a look at next, and there he is, and had the pleasure of really spending some quality time with this horse back at the barn, Scott, and not only Brad, but Blake, his son, and some of the other workers around the barn, Ricky Giannini, they talk about how smart this horse is. And you go up to him in the stall and you can love on him. He's not going to try to take your arm off. But at the first time, he's also got a little bit of an edge to him as well. It's kind of sort of more of an air of confidence. He's only run 3 times, but he appears to be a lot more seasoned than that. Just look at the way he's handling his environment right now.
Yeah, very cool customer, and he showed it going 2 turns for the first time in his second career start and was able to sit off the pace after just that 1 sprint at Fairgrounds, showing just kind of how smart he was. And then they took a different approach in the Louisiana Derby. They were drawn towards the inside instead of the outside. And Florent Giroux got a little aggressive. We talked earlier to Steve Asmussen about Epicenter sitting off the pace in that race. Zozos came into that race with just an off-the-pace effort, going 2 turns. He tried new tactics as well. And the thing with Zozos for me is I'm not concerned at all. I know I've said this a couple times, but he's going to be able to get the distance, in my opinion.
A homebred for Barry and Joni Butso. And homebreds have done great in the Kentucky Derby in recent years. They've won 11 of the last 18 editions, including Mandaloun last year. Brandon, you look at this pedigree by Munnings. This homebred is a half to a really solid sprinter in Emerald Forest. The Dam was more of a sprinter or a miler. But once horses prove what they could do on the racetrack, and the pedigree doesn't mean that much.
Yeah, completely agree, especially when you watch his training out here. He's not a horse. He's got speed, but he's not a horse that runs off. You can see him in his gallop here. The rider's got his hands low, very relaxed. He's kind of got that neck bowed a little bit, but very focused. He's relaxed. He looks like he has a good mind. And I thought in the Louisiana Derby, even though Epicenter won the race, I thought Zozos was still fighting to the wire, kind of seemingly making you think that the extra distance is not going to really be an issue.
Brad Cox with Cyberknife with Zozos. He also has Tawny Part, the recent winner of the Lexington. And Brandon, just to follow up too, these horses, when you train them, they're like pieces of clay. You got to try to mold them. You got to try to figure out what they do best. Got to try to figure out what the horses want and make sure that you follow a certain program to get them where they need to be. Cyberknife, a little bit more of a challenge mentally. Zozos, a little bit more of a head start when it comes to the mental side of the game. And Tawny Port has really come to hand as well. Brad Cox, winner of 2 Kentucky Oaks, winner of the Kentucky Derby last year. Man, he just continues to send horses out that are live in these big races, not only 3-year-olds, but older horses as well, winning the Breeders' Cup Classic last year with Knicks Go. Smile happy for Ken McPeak off of that in-company workout the other day with his stablemate, Tiz the Bomb. And Brandon, you talk about what these horses are looking like coming out of their works. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm seeing that they're moving well. I mean, it's just like when one of us goes to the gym and we have a tough workout, and how do we come out of the workout? Might be a little stiff the next day. That's where the jogging comes in. Usually we'll walk shed row or come out for a jog and then slowly build ourselves back up into that next work. I mentioned in the work and then just what I've seen in the gallops, and maybe this is just the horse. I get to know him a little bit more, but he's been pretty wet out here, and it looks like he is again today. I thought it was interesting also today they brought him out with a pony, which I haven't seen before. Maybe I missed it, but a couple of different things that I kind of will be paying attention to. Not the fact that they had the pony with him, but the pony was kind of having to pull him out a little bit and, kind of get him to come out here. So that combined with him being a little wet again today, just want to keep an eye on this horse. But he appears to be moving okay. Just let's see how he does the next couple of days.
Brandon, were you able to see him in the fall of his 2-year-old campaign? And if so, did he not have the wetness?
So I was able to see him, but it was on race day. I thought when he came into the paddock for the Jockey Club, he looked the best, and I mentioned that on the broadcast, how just of a standout he was physically. That day, I know it was a little chillier. He was not wet that day. So as I mentioned, we want to keep an eye on this horse and just see if this is a trend that continues.
We're going to take a look at Crown Pride right now, and the Japanese horses have just done absolutely amazing and unconventional training, to say the least. This horse has been here since shortly after his UAE Derby win back in late March, Brandon. And what are we looking at?
Well, he's just doing a little bit of little circling, little dressage, circling there. This is how they warm their horses up, or at least this is how they've warmed this horse up. Guys, we may not have enough show to talk about all the things this horse does on track. It's been really interesting to watch him train. We had Lonnie several years ago, spent a lot of time on track. This horse spends a lot of time on track. If you look at the work tab, I mean, this horse has breezed 3 times in really the last week and a half, so that's a little unorthodox. And then I don't know if we have video of this, but I believe back on the 22nd, they went to the gate and broke out of the gate, and he actually ducked left and lost the rider and got loose on the track. They picked him up. They came back to the gate and then basically worked out of the gate. It was what I would call like a gate pop. They went like 26 and 2 and 40 around the turn. So if you include that as a workout, he's really had 4 workouts in the last week and a half. So, but he's a neat horse. I think he's got, as far as the flesh goes and then the way he's built, I think he's a gorgeous looking animal. He's very interesting. I thought his work yesterday was the best that I had seen this horse. And let's throw that gate video up. I want to get to that. Let's talk about that and kind of run through that a little bit. So here he is out of the gate. This is the first time. So he broke out of the gate and then goes left. He lost the rider, then gets loose. Luckily, we have the best outriders in the country here, and they were able to get him pretty quickly. There you go, right there. He did come back to the starting gate, and they went ahead and broke him out of the gate again. Now, the second time they stuck an outrider to the left of him so he wouldn't go that way, and they kind of pushed him to go straight. Now, reading an article that was out there, apparently they're not used to the bell that goes off. Usually the gate just opens. So let's take a look at the second gate break. This is where they had the outrider to the left at the gate to kind of help out. There you go. You can see the outrider. And I thought it was interesting they went back to the gate. I mean, I didn't expect them to do that. There he goes. And then he kind of just got him to go straight. Now, the gate here is on a little bit of a turn. It's actually in a little bit of a chute. So I thought after he went straight, it was just what I would call a gate pop, but basically another work. So as I mentioned, this horse has worked 4 times basically in the last week and a half. I was impressed yesterday as far as this horse in general. I thought yesterday was his best work. He went off from the pole pretty slow. I took him from the half mile, and he ended up working 6 furlongs for me out around the turn in 1:15. I got the last 3/8 and 36 flat. Yesterday I was a little bit impressed by this horse, and that's just kind of based on what I've seen so far.
Japanese have been on fire of late. They won 5 of the 8 races on Dubai World Cup night. They won the Breeders' Cup Distaff with March Lorraine. They won the Turf with Love's Only You. Crown Pride, I think he's a legitimate Kentucky Derby horse, Scott, but what do I know? How do you go about evaluating a horse like this?
Well, it's tough. They've definitely come on the scene, as you just mentioned, but the Kentucky Derby is a different animal. These are younger horses than the ones that you mentioned that have won here in the States, and it's been an issue with these UAE Derby horses that have shown talent later on in their career. Thunder Snow, Mendelssohn, to name a couple of them, but they've had trouble getting out of the gate. Master Fencer, who ran 6th back in 2019, also broke poorly, and there you see Crown's Pride, who struggled with the gate issues there. So getting out of the gate is going to be a major part of whether Crown's Pride can outrun his odds.
Yeah, it's just great to have this horse here. The owner, Teruya Yoshida, been around the game for a long, long time, heavily involved with bringing Sunday Silence to Japan, and that completely changed everything. And the Japanese have really taken their game a step forward, maybe several steps forward in recent years. So an intriguing horse to watch over the course of the next 10 days or so. We've got some Kentucky Oaks horses that we want to take a look at. Kathleen O, undefeated. This is from Keeneland. She's a perfect 4 for 4. And Brandon, what do you see here? She's got a very serious finishing kick for Shug McGahee.
Yeah, she does. And I thought this work was okay. The first time I'm getting to see her breeze, watched the video a couple of times before seeing it right here, but she was relaxed early. Shug's not a guy. I mean, this is one thing you have to look at when you're analyzing workouts is how does the barn usually train them. Not a guy that's going to go out there and ask him to go 59, 58, even half miles in 46. If they do it, they're usually doing it on their own. She's very relaxed going into the pole. I also look, too, sometimes at the running styles. What kind of running style this horse has. She's going to come from the back a little bit, so maybe she doesn't have as much natural early speed. I thought she was being asked quite a bit in this workout. I thought the times were okay, but she was under a lot of pressure down the lane just to kind of keep focused. Maybe that's her. Like I said, I don't want to read too much into this. Maybe she's just a lazy workhorse, but he's asking her quite a bit down the lane, and then even around the turn he's getting after her. He wants her to gallop out, and it's possible, guys, especially with her running style, that she might just be a lazy workhorse.
This is a horse that likes to come from off the pace. Javier Castellano won in 2016 with Catherine Sophia. Shug won way back in 1993 with Dispute. She's going to be trying to catch the horse that we're going to take a look at next, Scott, and that is Echo Zulu, who's a perfect 5 for 5, and she's done it a little bit of a different way. I know we saw this work a little bit earlier, but again, worth taking a look at it again as we evaluate Echo Zulu coming into Kentucky Oaks a week from Friday.
Yeah, it's an interesting read. Obviously a very talented 2-year-old, 4 for 4, huge effort in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And then it comes back, Steve mentioned, barely got to the Fairgrounds Oaks, Steve Asmussen, the trainer, and it was the slowest effort of her career, whether you're looking at Thoroughgraphs, Brisnet, speed ratings, whatever you are. That's a little discouraging to me. I would have liked to have seen at least an equal effort to set her up to move forward, but if she wasn't fully cranked at all, you could definitely expect her to take a step forward. But as Steve mentioned also, the 1 1/8 is a concern.
Echo Zulu, undefeated. Will she take a step forward from age 2 to 3? That's a big question from her. She was all out to win, but as Scott mentioned, maybe a race she expected to need in the Fairgrounds Oaks last out. And, it's interesting, Brandon, because if she needed that race, typical handicapping would tell you that she's going to take another step forward here. She was all out to beat Hidden Connection, but you've got Secret Oath, Kathleen O, you've got Nest. This is going to be her toughest task to date.
Yeah, you've got some horses that are naturally built to go a little bit longer, and I think, this was a question mark I had, particularly watching her training, and then Steve kind of alluded to it as well. The distance might be the great equalizer. She's trained well in here. I honestly thought that her work 2 back last week was a little better than this one. I thought last week she went 59 and change, but it looked like 102. This was a little bit of a stiffer work. I just liked her a little better last week. That would be my biggest concern for her is the distance. She's not, in my opinion, not a huge filly. She may have some difficulty with that extra distance.
All right, again, if you are watching us on social media, you've got a question, you got an opinion, feel free to send it over. Use that hashtag KYDerby. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can during the course of this show and the next 10 shows as well. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching using the hashtag KYDerby. We've got some other works we're going to take a look at, some other horses to talk about. But first, let's take a look at the final standings for what is a tremendous contest, Scott. Second consecutive year that Twin Spire has run this. The $100,000 leaderboard competition. Humans earning points along with the horses. And look at that, the top 10 separated by 63 points. When the dust settled, it was David from New York on top.
Yeah, we have lots of great promotions at Twin Spires, but none better than this leaderboard competition. It's ongoing $25 win bet to earn you points, just like the horses, like you mentioned. David from New York and Wayne from Louisiana were 1-2 heading into the Lexington, where Tawnyport won. They ended up finishing 1-2. Hopeful that David from New York, from what I understand, will be attending the Kentucky Derby as part of his prize, and maybe we'll get to handicap a race with him.
Yeah, and Wayne from Louisiana going through some health issues right now. He's going to use his prize money to help pay some of his bills. So if you're watching, great to have you. Congratulations on a big performance in the contest, and get well soon. Twin Spires has a fantastic promotion for Derby Week. It runs all week long, and it's on every race at Churchill Downs. It's called the Money Back Offer. Place a win bet on any race, and if your horse doesn't win but runs second or third, Twin Spires will give you your money back up to $10. Now, this offer is open to all Twin Spires players, whether you're a new player or an existing one. All you need to do is opt in starting on April 26th. Again, it's the money back offer, Kentucky Derby Week here at Churchill Downs. It's only on Twin Spires. All right, Barber Road, another great storyline coming into the Kentucky Derby. First Kentucky Derby for John Ortiz, the trainer, and Raylu Gutierrez, the jockey, as well. And this was a horse that actually ran for a $30,000 maiden claiming tag, Scott, back in the fall at Churchill Downs. One of 3 horses with a victory over the track. And for a $30,000 maiden claimer, boy, is he already overachieved. Yeah, what a great story. They spent $15,000 at the Keeneland November 2019 sale, and to say he's exceeded expectations, earning $650,000 would be an understatement here. But a horse to me that has shown the ability to pass a lot of tiring rivals. The distance, probably not an issue, but he's going to have to run faster than he ever has, and much faster, in my opinion, to even hit the board. Let's take a look at the work, and yeah, he doesn't have a signature win yet, but he certainly is a horse that you don't want to throw out of your gimmicks based on what we've seen from Barber Road so far, Brandon. In 1:16-2. I mean, you're the workout guy. I'll let you do the evaluation here, but I was not impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal of this workout, I mean, I kind of like the idea. I mean, obviously it wasn't a fast time, but I like the idea. I like what John Ortiz is doing, where he's just putting stamina into the horse. He's not babying this horse with some soft half miles. You can see asking a little bit down the lane. They wanted this horse to get something out of this work. Another horse with not a lot of natural speed, so it kind of makes sense that maybe he's not really that sharp of a workhorse. He is being encouraged quite a bit to the wire. He'll gallop out decent, but as far as the work goes, maybe not impressed that much, but I like the idea of what he's doing. Not, like I said, not babying this horse. If you're going to get to the starting gate in the Kentucky Derby, you want to get there and have your best shot.
Well, again, when horses have natural speed, Brandon, they tend to become, they tend to be better workhorses when you're an out-the-back kind of closer, picking up, pieces. Maybe that's maybe holding against it a little bit more on Barber Road. As we go from one Arkansas-based horse to another, Scott, and Un Oho, again, talked about this horse's background, having one eye. Ricky Corville's first start in the Kentucky Derby, and he was a huge winner of the Rebel 2 races ago at 75-1. Did not get a fair shot in the Arkansas Derby. Yeah, looking to be the first New York bred to win the Kentucky Derby since Funny Side did it in 2003, and he got a dream run in that Rebel that came back as one of the weaker Rebels in recent memory. Although if you bet on him at 75-1, you love that Rebel more than most. I thought the trouble was definitely there in the Arkansas Derby, but I don't think jockey Ramon Vasquez had much horse underneath him. To be quite frank, he'd be the most surprising winner of the Derby this year if he won. Not only is he missing an eye, he's missing something else, as the only gelding in the field lost his eye in a paddock accident as a yearling. As we take a look at him on the track, Brandon, I thought this horse had kind of, an interesting way of going, but at the same time, he runs pretty fast.
Yeah, 59-2. Actually showed a little bit of speed in the workout. I believe I had him in around 35 and change for the opening 3 ace, and he's very fit. I could tell that watching the workout. He looks good in the flesh. He did require a little bit of encouragement down the lane, so it was a fast time in the end. But I would say, not that I would say it was a backwards drill, but there was a little more speed early with maybe not as much punch late. But every trainer's different. Maybe that was the design here, to put a little bit of speed into him. Like you said, he kind of does have a different way of going, a little bit wider up front, a little bit of a slappier action up front. But I believe Colby Hernandez was up in this work. He's going to be nudging on him to the wire, kind of asking him to pick up. You can kind of tell on the video he's starting to slow a little bit here. So yes, on paper 59-2, but the last quarter mile in 24 and change. So speed early and not as much finish as you would like late.
Brandon, when you say a backwards work, tell people what you mean.
So usually most trainers will want their horses to finish stronger than when they started the work. So sometimes you'll see where horses will go, for an example, 22 and change or 23 flat early on, but then they finish the last part of the drill in a 25. So they did get 48 flat total, but at the same time, they just didn't show that finish. They're using all their energy early, but a lot of races are won at the end. So you never really like to see that.
Pioneer Medina did work out earlier this morning. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Todd Pletcher has 3 horses in the race this year. This one was most recently 3rd in the Louisiana Derby, going 1 mile and 3/16. $485,000 RNA as a Keeneland September yearling. The Connections can't be overly disappointed that they kept this horse in the barn.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly earned his way into the field with the defection and has run competitively against the maybe the toughest preps. The Risen Star, I'd argue, is the toughest. Louisiana Derby was strong. My problem is I don't think he's fast enough to make the lead, and I think his best efforts were on when he makes the lead. So he's going to have to hope out to work out a trip and maybe grind away a minor share.
Yeah, we'll find out what Todd Pletcher thinks about this work later on this morning, but here it is. As we see him on the inside of the stablemate here, Brandon. Final time 59 4/5. Take us through it.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good work. He wasn't really encouraged much to do it. He galloped out strong. This is early in the work here on the inside. At this point, I believe the workmate's name is McCullen. So McCullen on the outside in here was basically being shoved on from the 2.5 pole all the way through onto the gallop out. So inside, Pioneer Medina just under a light hold. You can see the rider's hands very low. There's the quarter pole, that red and white pole in there, and he's just a very smooth looking horse. He moved well over the surface. The time came back quick. The finish was good. We talked about that. The fact that horses go fast early, we want to also see them finish late. Very little encouragement to the wire. He's striding out well, pretty efficient runner on the outside there. This guy's still grinding along on the outside, just kind of keeping company. But at the wire, Pioneer Medina will stick a head in front there. You can kind of see him put his nose down. And then on the gallop out, there wasn't a ton of separation, but you could just tell really throughout the entire work, Pioneer Medina had a lot more horse. And there's the rider kind of giving a few taps and they're just signaling, okay, we want you to keep going. And thought it was a good work. And I thought, if Todd asked me, I'd probably say he's going to put him in.
All right, we've got a couple of questions here from social media as we wrap up the final few moments of the show. Let's find out what we've got. Jennifer from Facebook wants to know, did the most recent Kentucky Derby winners stand out in the workouts beforehand, or did any of them surprise you? If we've got Brandon's mic open, we'll get his thoughts too. Anybody come to mind? Obviously, American. I mean, a lot of these horses were working great going into it. Brandon, we'll start with you. Anything surprise you as far as Jennifer's questions go, as far as standouts go before in the workouts, and any surprises on Kentucky Derby Day?
I think we just like to see that the horses are coming in like they always do. You just don't want to see any negatives. There wasn't any really spectacular workouts. I think the way that the training styles have changed a little bit. A lot of trainers, more emphasis on the gallop out, so maybe you're not seeing the flashy work times to the wire. But what I would tell you is pay special attention to those gallop out times.
Mandaloon last year. I would say Orb. I would say Animal Kingdom.
Justify when he got here.
American Pharaoh.
Right.
I mean, all like people are like, wow, those horses are working good. Cyberknife might be that horse this year, Brandon.
Yeah, it could be. Mentioned how much I like the work and the fact he galloped out well at 124 and change. Like I said, I haven't seen anybody do that here yet, and he's coming into the race really well. Let's see if he can stay on his good behavior, and obviously trained by one of the top trainers in the game right now in Brad Cox.
All right, Scott, we'll give you a crack at this one. Chad from Facebook wants to know, will Barber Road get enough speed in the Kentucky Derby to help his late kick?
I think the pace is going to be honest. The key to this race to me in terms of pace is Summers tomorrow, who we'll talk about over the next several days. UAE Derby runner-up, a horse that would only sprint it until that race. If he gets out of the gate better than the other UAE Derby type horses have, he should be involved. I think Messier will be involved. Epicenter. I don't expect a really highly contentious pace, but I expect to be honest. So Barber Road should have a fair crack if he's good enough.
We're going to bring Brandon back in. We're going to get some final thoughts. We'll start with Brandon. We'll go to you, and then I'll wrap things up. Brandon, final thoughts on what you saw today. Action was hot and heavy, but more so horses coming back after recent workouts from this weekend.
Yeah, we had a lot of horses breeze over the weekend, so you get to see them come back and start jogging and galloping again. I mentioned usually the horses that are galloping well are going to go into their works and work well. Same thing with the races. When they're galloping well, they're going to usually run their race. So get to know some of these horses too. I thought Pioneer of Medina worked well today, and can't wait to see Zandon on track, and we'll get a few more arrivals. But everything is kind of a culmination leading up to the weekend works, guys, and can't wait for those.
All right, Scott, your final thought for today?
Yeah, it was great to be back out here. We saw a number of top contenders out there on the track. As Brandon mentioned, Zandon, who I currently have on top. Looking forward to seeing him for the first time here after that strong work at Keeneland. And we're just getting started. Can't wait for the next 10 days.
My first reaction is we didn't need the heaters by our feet this morning. It was very comfortable out here on the set at Churchill Downs and the balcony outside the Gold Room. I can't get that workout from Cyberknife out of my head. I can't get that visual of the workout from Zandon out of my head. I'm an Epicenter guy coming in. I work at the fairgrounds in the winter. I'm rooting for Steve to win his first Kentucky Derby, and you're going to probably change your mind a few times over the next few days when you see what you see out on the racetrack and you hear people talk. But Cyberknife and Zandon both look really good to me in their workouts this past weekend. This is just the beginning, everybody. Day 1 of 11, Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twins Spires. We'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place on social media, 7 o'clock in the morning. Looking very, very forward to it. The last workout show will be held on Thursday, May the 5th. Kentucky Oaks on Friday, May the 6th. Kentucky Derby 148 on Saturday, May the 7th. Thanks for joining us here this morning. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow morning.